Well, here we are nearing the beginning of the film festival season. So think Toronto Film Fest, of course, the Vancouver International Film Festival in the fall. But one of the first festivals to kick things off in our city is the Vancouver Queer Film Festival, and that starts mid-August. And I am so pleased to have the executive director, Brandon Yan, with us today. Brandon, hello there and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
34 years, not you personally with this particular film festival.
It feels that way though sometimes.
Okay, well, what can you tell me about the evolution of this festival?
Yeah, so our film festival started in the late 80s in conjunction with the Vancouver Gay Games, and so we were kind of the cultural component. We started as a group of friends getting together, throwing queer film up on a bed sheet in the West End, and now we're in cinemas across the city, and so we've kind of grown into this, cultural event that happens every year.
There's something kind of community, though, isn't there, about a bed sheet on the wall and people gathered around? I kind of like that idea, too.
Actually, over the last 2 years, that's kind of how people got together in their little bubbles during COVID. They watched at home, kind of in that aspect, too.
Okay, and you've also been in the position of executive director for these past few years, trying to put on a festival with so much uncertainty. What's that been like for you?
It has been hard and difficult. I think it's taken a toll on just, not even our community members, but our staff, and folks feel isolated, so I think everyone's kind of rearing to get back into cinemas, and we'll still have an online option for folks who can't get back into cinemas.
Okay, let's talk about that. How complicated does that make things, putting it on? Do you want to be in a seat? Do you want to be at home? A different package? Does it complicate things?
It's a hybrid event, so we'll have over 20 events in person, which is about half of what we would normally do prior to COVID. But then you have lots of options to watch online. So most of our programming will be available to anyone across BC.
Okay, now we're just wrapping up Pride here in Vancouver, giant parade last weekend, that kind of thing. Why do you think it's important to represent the queer community on screen?
Yeah, I think that's the core of what we do, is to illuminate, celebrate, and advance queer lives at our organization. And Pride is an aspect of representation. And the way we learn about ourselves and the world is through media and film, watching the news, people seeing us on TV. And so we fill that kind of void where maybe we're not seeing full representations of ourselves. And so for me, it's always about those young folks or those folks questioning, aspects of their identity and seeing possibilities. And I think that's really what we get to, is like, how do we provide those possibilities for folks out in the world who might belong to the 2S LGBTQ+ community.
Okay, let's explore some of those possibilities. You brought the program in with you.
It's beautiful. Look at that.
It is. It's thick too.
Yeah, it's a lot of work putting this together.
Tell me about. Why don't we start with the opening film?
Sure. Our opening film is. It feels very fitting to reopen the film festival in person with the Empress of Vancouver. And it is a local documentary, so it's been a while since we've had a local film open the festival, and it's about Olive Howe, and also a story about Vancouver and our evolution as a city when it comes to queer politics and art in the city. And that's going to be on August 11th at the Playhouse Theatre. If folks are just I really just want young folks to see this film too, because it's about the first Pride Parade in 1981 as well, which we just had, obviously, the Pride celebration. But it's, how do we get there? And we have to remember about the progress that we've made over the last many years, and to remember to keep going, because I think we've seen some troubling trajectories on that front lately as well.
Yeah, no, you make a very good point. I know we've just had statistics released by StatsCan talking about hate crimes against, gender-based hate crimes and that type of thing. So you make some very good points. Yeah. But I do not expect you to go through the entire program with us today. You talked about the opening film. Yeah. What other highlights can you share?
Sure. Our Youth Gala film features a Two-Spirit young person from the Narragansett First Nation. I believe they're in Rhode Island. And it's our Youth Gala, and it's about the triumph and power of youth and queer youth and Two-Spirit youth, and juggling the culture, identity, politics, and just young people wanting to be young people and express themselves fully. That's our Youth Gala, and it's going to be at the Cinematheque, I believe, on August 16th. Yep, just checking my notes.
Oh, that is excellent. Listen, any other highlights you want to share with us?
Yeah, I also want to talk about Emergence Out of the Shadows. It's also a local documentary about the South Asian community. And actually, CBC's very own Anita Bath will be hosting the Q&A after that screening at the York Theatre, and that's on August 19th. And then lastly, I think folks should check out the shorts programs, because I think short films have come a long way. And one in particular is the Obsidian program, Queer Black Cinema as I Am, and it was programmed by Malik Cuff, who was one of our guest curators this year. And it's about the intersections of being Black and queer, the joys, the resistance that's in part of that movement, and I think it's worthwhile for everyone to check out.
Have you seen most of the films yourself?
I have seen a lot of the films.
Okay. I don't expect you to do
lot.
that deep of research because there's a lot of organizational details to tie up as
Yeah.
well. Brendan, thank you so much for coming in and all the best with the festival.
Of course, thank you for having me.